So today on the JBJ Management Podcast, we have the former mayor of Dallas, Tom Leppard. Mayor, first of all, thank you for being here.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's always great being with you, Willis, as you know, one of my best friends.
Listen, and thank you for speaking to our team. That was a question I was going to ask, and you kind of answered it because somebody asked you what was the one thing that you would have done different, basically. And I wanted to talk about if you could change running for Senate or staying, because you would have easily won the second term of mayor, would you do it different?
There's actually two parts to that. Would I have run for mayor again? The answer is probably not. And the reason is
that's
this.
Painful.
The reason for this is I just have a great belief that people run for offices because they run for offices. When I ran for office, I had a clear understanding of exactly what the agenda would be. It was based around public safety, it was based around education, economic development, and the environment. And in all four areas, I think I can look at somebody today and say, not only did I do and we do everything we said in those four areas, we did more. The agenda was very clear. To be truthful with you, in public safety, from a strategic standpoint as mayor, we did. We built up the police force. We had it positioned with the right people, and then it just had to be run well. The mayor wasn't going to add to that, to be frank, so that wasn't there. Education, we had started a number of different programs. I had gone as far as I thought I could get on that from a mayor standpoint. Economic development, you're never done. The to-do list is never done. But we had some pretty significant achievements. If you look at how downtown was transformed, supporting key projects that make a difference, literally to today, at the convention center. Remember back then, we were kind of a third-tier player.
No question.
With the hotel now, we've become a first-tier player, which justifies a $5 billion investment in the convention center hotel. So you look at those sorts of things, companies that have moved here. AT&T was the front end, but look at the other companies that have moved to our area, if not Dallas, but Dallas has gotten the benefit there. And the environment was a very specific list of things that we did actually relatively early in my term. So I didn't think from my perspective that there was that clear agenda of things that I wanted to do. Education would have been one that was there, but as you and I have talked, I think the opportunities given the legislature to really have a more forceful view on that were limited, and I knew that I couldn't control the legislature on that.
With education, one of the things you wanted to do was be similar to New York and Chicago, where the mayor had a lot of influence with the education department. Would that meant you would have chosen the superintendent, or would the DISD board would have gone away? How would it?
I think you could have managed that in a lot of different ways, but I do believe, and I look across the country, it's not just in Dallas. The governance structure for our public schools is very difficult throughout the nation. It doesn't breed accountability. It doesn't breed metrics that measure performance. And unfortunately, I think it doesn't serve the students. Clearly, you look at the public schools across this nation, they're not doing the job that they have to do. And not only not doing the job that they have to do for our nation, providing educated people that will be in our workforce, but they are clearly underserving key parts of our community, and ones that, to be frank with you, education is the only way that we can lift those people. And you know, we just are not doing a good enough job on public education. We kind of pat ourselves on the back when there's a 1 or 2 point improvement, but that means that we're losing generations of kids who aren't performing and don't have the opportunities, to be truthful, that you and I have had.
Do you recall there was a lady, I can't remember her name, but she had a helicopter factory, yes, a company, and she was looking at Dallas to put that factory or assembly line near Executive Airport. She wanted to do it in the southern sector. But her concern was the workforce.
Absolutely.
The education base. And we lost.
Yeah.
If she came back now, would we still win that work?
If you looked at it only in the area around where she was going to put it, we probably wouldn't be substantially better than we were.
Wow. And that, it's that workforce, it's that base of people to go to work at, and we're talking about an assembly line. I'm not talking about bringing in, I don't know, this Fortune 500 company.
Well, keep in mind, assembly lines aren't the assembly lines that you and I thought about when we were
Back
young.
then, yeah.
And I think that's one of the problems where the issues in public education come out. 40 or 50 years ago, we could take 30 or 40% of our population, and they didn't need to be educated. We could put them on an assembly line in Detroit, other places
Sure.
than that. You didn't have to have an education, but it was a good earnings. It had a pension. It had retirement attached to it, those sorts of things. Those jobs don't exist anymore. It's just a different world. And the type of jobs that do exist, even on an assembly line now, have a technology component to it. In a lot of cases, you're reading very sophisticated machinery and instruments, those sorts of things. So yes, there's different types of jobs, but they've all increased in terms of what they demand.
Now, let's go politics a little bit. You and I are the same age, meaning turning 70. But we're
That was a really graceful way of saying that.
But, well, here's the upside of that. We're relatively young in respect to the presidential candidates. Should there be an age limit?
I don't think I am very disappointed at the choice that we have. So I'll put that out front, okay? But I don't want, I think that's the wrong way to go. We've got to find ways to have leaders that are younger, leaders that are going to have new ideas, leaders that can bring the country together, neither of which the two we have. But I don't think the answer is to come up with rules. An age rule, where you got to be from. That's not the way it should be. It should be open. I'm just really disappointed at where we are. But I think trying to come up with rules like that would prohibit, I think you create more problems than you solve.
Then where do you see us going? So this election is going to happen. One of them is going to win. Then what? What happens after one of them win?
I think you also have to ask the question, what happens to the House and to the Senate? Because it's got to be a package situation. I think the best scenario for the nation right now, to be truthful with you, is to have split government. So that if the White House is won by one party, the Senate's won by another party, and that sort of thing. To have that checks and balances in play.
Have we gone down?
We absolutely have gone down. And I'll measure that in different ways. I will ask the person walking on the street if they think more of our country today than they did 10 or 20 years ago. I think I know what the answers are because you can look at the polls. You can see how trust in organizations, trust in institutions has declined. There's only one institution in the United States today that has over 50%, and it's actually falling, and that's the military. Everything else, Congress, the courts, prosecutors, et cetera, is all way, way low now. And that's the problem. You run a very successful firm. The only reason that firm is successful is because your clients trust you. If they lose trust, you no longer have a business.
Correct.
That's what my real concern is all of this infighting, all this division, all of the poor leadership, to be frank with you, what it does is erodes trust. And when you erode trust, it is very difficult to build that back. And over time, it is going to take institutions that are very important to us. Congress, the decisions they make are critical to us. The White House, having that proper leadership. I'm a great believer that the United States has to be a strong player in this world. We're not a strong player anymore in this world. We're not respected across the world. We're not a key player any longer. If you look in Asia, if you look in the Middle East, if you look in other parts of the world, That's dangerous not only for us in the United States, but it's dangerous for the world. That's how you have autocrats in major countries today that are stronger than they've ever been before.
I close on a lighter note. The next chapter for Tom Leppard. What is that?
Probably talk Willis out of lunch. I am very fortunate. I have been privileged to do a lot of interesting things that I just look back and think that the Lord blessed me in ways that
Did it go back quick?
I'm deserving. Those have allowed me to do some things in the community that I continue to do. We are trying to do an effort of creating to be able to change people's career trajectories in communities like South Dallas. We spent a lot of time on that. I spent a lot of time on that yesterday. I think we've got some folks that are participating that can make a difference in people's lives. I've had the opportunity to be exposed in a corporate setting, so there's boards that I'm involved in and companies that I'm involved in that I'm excited that are doing good things. I'm fortunate to have a family with grandkids, and we're doing things with them. So again, I've been blessed, so there's a lot of interesting things that I'm doing, so I'm trying to just juggle all the above.
Well, I said I was going to close on that note, but I'm intrigued because I remember when you were mayor, actually when you were running, we would go to different neighborhoods on a Thursday between 1 and 4, and we'd look at these different neighborhoods, and we'd see all of these African-American males between 2 and 92. Here we are, almost 20 years later. That's still front of mind to you, and you're trying to address that. That's very interesting to me, Tom.
Yeah, it's been important to me from the experiences on the public side, literally going back to that first trip that you and I had, which was more of a conversation than it was a trip, but we had a setting in South Dallas that I think is sad, and I think it's sad for anybody that would go through that. But I also look at it from a spiritual standpoint. I think all of us have responsibilities to make other people's lives better. And what we're trying to do, I think, has got a potential of that. This won't involve millions of people, but I want to be able to look at some people's face and say that we did things that gave them career opportunities to provide for their families, this generation and the next generation, in ways that they didn't have before we presented the training and education opportunities and the placement opportunities and employment before them.
Former Dallas Mayor Tom Leppard, my man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir.